Hey there, and welcome to Productivity Hacks, your go-to podcast for quick hacks to help you to get things done and to do them well. I'm Jasmine, your host, productivity coach and consultant, and my mission is to help people increase their productivity so that they have time for what really matters. Each week, I'll bring you a short episode packed with tips that you can implement right away to boost your output. So let's dive in. Hi everyone, welcome back to Productivity Hacks. I am so glad you're here. Today I wanted to challenge a common idea about productivity, that being busy equals being productive. If your days are filled with replying to endless emails, hopping from one meeting to another, staying active on Slack, it might feel like you're getting a lot done, but is that actually true productivity? I was prompted to do this episode after someone shared with me that she was initially put off by the word productivity in my podcast title, and this put her off listening to my podcast. But she was intrigued, so she had a listen and was pleasantly surprised. I don't think I realised how much I was challenging the traditional views of productivity as I lean into balanced, purposeful, meaningful productivity that works for the individual. Getting the important stuff done in a way that doesn't compromise ourselves or our values. So I thought I'd do an episode on it. So in this episode, we'll dig into what productivity really means, at least what it means to me, and why traditional definitions often miss the mark. We'll talk about something called the overhead tax, which you get on tasks like emails, endless meetings, Slack. It drains your time and energy. And I'm going to share a concept I love, which is Cal Newport's idea of slow productivity, which is actually really efficient. At the end of this episode, I really hope that you'll see productivity in a whole new light and you'll feel empowered to focus on what really matters. So let's get started. Let's start with what I believe productivity isn't. It isn't about getting everything done at any cost. It is not keeping doing at the cost of your health, your happiness, your family time, your life. For a lot of us, productivity looks like constant busyness. We measure success by how many emails we've answered, how quickly we've responded, how many items we've ticked off that to-do list. We sit in meeting after meeting, often without questioning whether those meetings are even necessary. The dictionary definition of productivity typically focuses on the concept of this effectiveness and output. So the Oxford English Dictionary defines productivity as the effectiveness of productive effort, especially in industry, as measured in terms of the rate of output per unit of input. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary says the rate at which goods are produced or work is completed. And the Cambridge Dictionary says the rate at which a person, company or country does useful work. All these definitions focus on measurable outcomes, but I want to explore how productivity goes way beyond this, because here's the thing. All of these outputs that we tend to focus on to measure our productivity, how many emails we send, how many meetings we've been in, how many Slack messages we've done in a day, they're not actually your real work. They're what Cal Newport calls overhead tasks. The work that you have to do just to manage the other work. I want you to think about it with me for a minute. I'm going to try and explain it. The more you take on, the more projects you take on, the more overhead tasks you generate. So I'm going to put it really simply, and I know that the world isn't as simple as this, but if you have one project that will take 7 hours to complete, and it generates 1 hour of overhead tasks, so that's emails, meetings, Slacks a day, you should be able to complete the project in 1 8-hour working day. However, if you are working on 4 projects at once, each taking 7 hours to complete, and each generating 1 hour of overhead tasks a day, completing these 4 projects takes significantly more time than 4 days. Let me break it down. Okay, so you've got 4 projects, that totals 28 hours of work to do if they take 7 hours each to do, plus 1 hour per day of overhead tasks of those emails, meetings, Slack messaging, all that stuff that comes with the actual work. So day 1, you do 4 hours of your overhead tasks to maintain the 4 projects, plus you do 4 hours of actual work, leaving 24 hours of work to do. Day 2, you do the 4 hours of overhead tax plus the 4 hours of work, so you've got 20 hours. Day 3 continues, day 4, day 5, day 6, you've got your 4 hours of overhead tax plus 4 hours of work, and you've only got 4 hours left. So day 7 is when you complete. You finish all your projects. So it's taken 7 days to do those 4 projects. If you focused on them one at a time, it would only take 1 day each. So 4 days in total. But this example shows that it blasts up the amount of time it takes to do by almost double, 7 days to do the 4 projects. Now imagine if you had 7 projects at once. What should take 7 days, if one at a time, would take 49, as you would only have 1 hour per day to actually work, because the other 7 hours were the overhead tax. Obviously, this is very simplified, but I do hope it helps show the massive impact of that overhead tax, of the time spent juggling emails, coordinating with others, staying visible online, doing the things that show our productivity, that others view as productive and busy. They are actually drastically reducing our real output. So if productivity isn't about being busy, what is it? This is where I love Cal Newport's idea of slow productivity. Instead of chasing quick wins, ticking boxes, slow productivity focuses on doing less, but doing it better. It's about producing high quality work in a way that's sustainable over the long term, and you work at a natural pace. Here's how I like to think about it. Real productivity isn't about how much you do, but about the impact of what you do. It's about working on fewer, more meaningful tasks that align with your long-term goals. Imagine how much better your day would feel if, instead of rushing to clear your inbox, you spent your time deeply focused on something important, whether it's a big project, a strategy session, or even planning your personal goals. Think of how you would feel if that overhead tax was dramatically reduced, if you knew the important things and you focused on them. When you look over a month or a year of work, can you imagine how much more actually productive you would have been? And just imagine how much lower your stress levels would have been as well. So why do we fall into the trap of busyness? A big part of it comes down to how we're wired. We get that little dopamine hit every time we tick something off a to-do list, even if that task isn't particularly meaningful. And don't tell me I'm the only one who writes things down just to be able to cross them off. But let's face it, our culture often equates busyness with success. Being busy feels important. It makes us feel like we're achieving something. When someone asks us how we're doing, we wear busyness as a badge of honour. Oh, I'm really busy. Oh, I've got lots on. But here's the truth. Multitasking, rushing, and overloading yourself aren't just unproductive, as I showed earlier with the overhead tax maths I did. They're also mentally exhausting. Studies show that multitasking, while feeling like you're more productive, significantly reduces your efficiency and the quality of your work. On the flip side, focusing deeply on a single task, one that is aligned to the main goals you have, the kind of focus that slow productivity encourages, actually improves your performance and your sense of satisfaction. And because it's sustainable, it also helps prevent burnout. Have a listen to last week's episode if you're worried that you or someone you care about is approaching burnout, where I explore this topic further. Okay, your turn. It's time to make this practical. Firstly, I want you to take a moment to reflect. What is the number one most important thing you need to achieve this week? And what task or commitments can wait or can be removed altogether? This is a really interesting question. By not working on it until next week or next month, you actually reduce all the overhead tax of maintaining it. If colleagues are asking you about a project that you're not working on right now, but it is on your to-do list, find a way to show them what you're working on this week and when those other tasks are in terms of priority. So you could potentially put an out of office on your emails, which reply to every email saying, hey, thanks for your email. This week I'm focusing on XYZ. If you're messaging about another project on my list or a new project, I will get back to you by whenever. You've communicated really clearly what your focus is, and you've given people an expectation of when to hear from you. So it's time to take action. Prioritise that meaningful work. Write down the few things that really matter to you this week. Be ruthless about cutting out anything that doesn't support that. If you struggle with procrastination, I did an episode about this a few weeks ago, and I've got a cheat sheet that helps you navigate it. You can grab this in the show notes. Reduce your overhead. So batch your emails. See my previous episode on emails if you need to sort that out. Decline unnecessary meetings. Set boundaries around your time. Schedule the deep work. So block time in your calendar for focused, uninterrupted work. Turn off notifications. Set a timer. It's really important to have that focused, deep, uninterrupted time. And don't forget to plan for rest and recovery. It's a critical part of working sustainably. Depending on the way you work and who you work with, it might be a good idea to communicate this with your line manager, with colleagues, so they can see your process and hopefully respect it. As soon as you start leaning more into this way of working, your actual output will improve. You will be more productive, so don't be afraid of seeming less busy. The emails can wait. Remember, true productivity isn't about how much you do, it's about doing what matters. And I strongly recommend reading Slow Productivity by Cal Newport. It is wonderful. Next time, I'm going to be sharing about the power of a pivot and how you shouldn't be afraid to stop doing something or change quickly if you can. It saves a lot of time. If you want to figure out how to reduce that overhead tax, how to focus on the important, how to be truly productive with all the freedom and life that brings, if you want to work out how to stop those stressful days, those stressful weeks, months that run away from you, if you're ready to take your productivity to the next level, check out my coaching options. Whether you're looking for a quick reset or long-term impact, there's something for everyone. Head to lifewithzest.co.uk for more info and my latest offers. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Share your reflections on social media and please tag me, Jasmine Clark Coach, on Instagram or Facebook, and be sure to share this episode with a friend. Thanks for tuning in to Productivity Hacks. Let's redefine productivity together. See you next time. That's it for today. Thank you for tuning in to the Productivity Hacks podcast with me, Jasmine. What is your action point today? Write it down and make time to do it. If you like what you've heard, follow this podcast to get notifications of the weekly episodes, and please share it with your friends. Episodes will drop every Monday morning, and in the meantime, head to lifewithzest.co.uk or the links in the show notes to connect with me. See you next week.